So I'm definitely got a lot more value than I paid for, to be honest. When you have people around you that do something similar to you, it's going to help a lot. I think there's a saying, if you don't do it fast, do it yourself. If you want to go far, go with a group of people. And
Yeah.
your program is basically a symbol of that.
So guys, welcome back to another student interview. Today I have Carson on here, who was kind enough to give us some of his time. So Carson, thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Vince.
And let's get right into it. So could you first tell people a little bit about, kind of like, I guess a little bit about your life story, like background, and also where you were before you started to work with us, how you got into this like editing slash content, space in the first place, and also if you have had any other jobs before, that or anything like that.
Yeah, of course. So I started this whole content creation business back in, I want to say it was September of 2022, around there. And this is when I was still in college. So I had to choose basically between college or starting a business. And so throughout college, that whole semester, I just spent working on the my content agency. And back then, I was more to short form content. I feel like I kind of got into it early. So I was able to scale up pretty quickly to around 2,000 a month within my first month or two. And from there, I just kept working on the business. And by the end of the semester, I was lucky enough to be able to drop out of school. My parents agreed on it, and the business was getting some momentum. So I decided to drop out. And from there, I just kept doing short form content for the next, I don't know, 8 months or so. And I kind of hit a plateau with it just because it was getting commoditized and I needed a better offer and structure to it. And so that's when I reached out to you, Vince, through your YouTube channel. I've been watching your content for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just booked a call with you. We got on, and I've been since the program ever since. We've been working on the offer mainly in the program, but that's just kind of my background. I started out with short form content, but now I have more of a full service YouTube agency, which is working a lot better for me.
Mm-hmm. And when you were doing just the short form, like how much were you charging, I guess, per clip, roughly? And yeah, because I remember you didn't really have, again, much of an offer, much of a sales argument, or any of those things. You were just doing a shit ton of short form edit. So do you remember how much you were charging back then?
Dude, I kind of laugh at when you say that because it was so low. I mean, I think when I first started, it may have been $8 to $10 a short, and then I eventually got up to like $12 to $15. So I mean, I just didn't know what I was doing, honestly. So I think that's also why it scaled so fast, just because anyone brought me on because I was doing it for so cheap. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I obviously didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really have a offer, a structure to the offer. To like the offer I pitched people with. I just said, I'll create short form videos for you, and I thought that would be able to scale to like 10,000 a month. But nowadays you can't quite do that, and so that's again why I got your help, because I kind of hit the plateau with the short form content.
Yeah, and you were doing all of the editing yourself, by the way, right? So, these like $8 to $10 shorts, they were probably all taking you up, what, like 45 minutes to an hour of your time. So, yeah,
Mhm.
not to say that that's bad, but like you came a long way. Like that's like probably
Oh
minimum
yeah.
wage in your state as well, right? Because you're from the US.
Oh yeah, and keep in mind, I mean, I was doing this also in college. So I was pulling off,
Yeah.
14-hour days trying to get all the content done. But yeah, I was doing it all myself and figuring out along the way that's not the way to go all the time. So you got to
Yeah.
outsource eventually.
Yeah. So walk us through the numbers. Like, where are you at now? So you were at around 2K when you decided to join, and how are things going now?
Yeah, so around 2000 when I joined, and that's just doing the short form content. And then I got on the call with you. We started having the coaching calls and the group
Yeah.
and the video program as well. And, through doing that, restructuring the offer, in the matter of just a few months, I was able to scale past 5,000. I'm right around $6,000 a month in revenue. So it's going good. Obviously, I've been able to
Hmm.
scale quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, it was mainly just the main thing, the offer, getting that down, and also just outreach, making sure that was dialed in.
Yeah.
And yeah, once we did that, we were able to scale quite a bit. And I think this year we're gonna do some great numbers. But yeah, I mean, once I joined your program, honestly, I was able to scale quite a bit more. And once again, that's also just mainly the offer, getting that
Hmm.
down. So
And before you joined, I remember I think your goals weren't really like that super ambitious. I think you were just saying like you just want to get to around like 4 to 5K a month, so you have like kind of a good full time income, right, from this gig. Was do I remember correctly?
Yeah, I want to say it was around $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are your goals now that, you kind of went through this transformation? I think this year, if you just keep doing what you're doing, you should do definitely over 100,000 this year with the business. So yeah, I guess like what are your goals and how have your perspective kind of shifted since this transition?
Yeah, well, speaking of the perspective change, it really changed once you realize, I guess, how to scale properly, not just doing all the work yourself. I mean, I'm not saying you
Mm-hmm.
can't do all the work yourself, but when you start bringing on team members, you can really start to leverage that. So, I mean, a goal for me now would probably be similar to what you said, over 100 grand this year in revenue, probably
Mm-hmm.
around $15,000 a month. I think, yeah, $15,000 a month would be more than 100 grand a year, but that's probably my end goal for the end of the year is that, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's possible working just with clients. I get a lot of experience working with you as well, and I'm really dialing in now on hiring team members, and so I think once I do more of that, I'll be able to scale faster. But yeah, I mean, yeah, $15,000 a month by the end of the year in revenue would be my goal.
Yeah, I think that's super realistic. And if you keep up, I think one thing that really had going for you is the work ethic. So I think if you can keep that up and we keep working on improving everything, like that should be considered done pretty much. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, another thing I wanted to ask is, obviously, to a lot of people who are maybe in the situation where you were at when you started, like they feel kind of, they might feel very lost. They might not be entirely sure. So like, first of all, I want to ask, like, number one, how many people would you say you had to message to be able to land these extra new clients? Because I think that's something a lot of people underestimate. I never want to ever come across like it was easy, because like you can probably
Mm-hmm.
attest to this. It wasn't like it was, maybe it was easier than you thought. I don't know. Maybe it was harder, but it was definitely not like something where you just snap your fingers and you get the results. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, first of all, on that side of things, like with the outreach and generating the conversations, um, what did you have to do differently, to get to this
Mm-hmm.
point?
Yeah, so I've done all my outreach for the most part through cold email, and overall the reply rates have been pretty good. I think the biggest piece of advice I can give to beginners is just, I mean, first of all, obviously just keep on optimizing the emails, making sure you're checking the data analytics on it, but also just make sure the leads are people you actually want to work with and are, I guess, up to the standard of the people. Because the thing is, I see a lot of people messaging like hundreds of people a day, but those leads are like people they'd never work with. So they say they have a low reply rate and all that stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's because you're reaching out to leads that either don't have the budget to spend with you, or just don't know what they're doing, don't have their business in check in the first place. So
Mm-hmm.
making sure you have the right quality leads, and also just making sure you're picking a niche. And at first, I was just reaching out to basically any YouTuber I could find, and I figured out when I stuck to a niche, which right now I'm kind of targeting the finance sector. Once you start
Mm-hmm.
targeting a niche, you can really start building case studies and testimonials around it and become specialized in that. And when you do that, you're going to see your reply rates are going to go up, your close rates are going to go up. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice I would get. And yeah, over time, I've just figured out, targeting the same niche over and over is going to be best, just because you're going to learn more about it. And if you just target everyone, you're really targeting no one at the same time. So
Yep.
yeah, that's probably the biggest piece
Yeah.
of advice I could give for that.
Yeah, exactly. Also, one thing I think is that was very transformational is like how much you increased your average like ticket price. So how much would you say you are charging per client per month on average, like before, and how much would you say is your average retainer now?
Mm. Yeah, so this comes back to the offer where before I was just doing short form and now I'm doing more YouTube management. So
Mm-hmm.
before, I mean, it was really low, man. I mean, probably three to five, 600 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, that was with the amount of work I was doing. It was just, I mean, probably below minimum wage, to be honest with you. But after we got the offer in check, now average retainer is right around, I'd say, 1,000 to 1,200. And so I'm still working on getting that up, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd say around 1,200 is the average right now. And it's also just a matter of, building up the case studies and testimonials to be able to um, scale that up even more. And that's one of my goals this year is to raise that average retainer. But yeah, right
Hmm.
around 1,000 to 1,200 a month is the average. So I've about doubled it, to be honest with you. And so that's been very, very good as well because now I'm working with less clients, but I'm making more money.
Yeah, I think you will probably need to double it again this year to reach
Hmm.
that next level, which obviously like will help with how to like even improve your offer even further than that. And obviously you have a lot more experience as well now. But yeah, would you say there is a difference between like let's just call it $1,200 a month client versus like $300 a month client in terms of how they are to work with?
100%. The $300 a month clients are going to find are like probably twice as more picky. They're going to want all these revisions and such just because if you're charging that low, they probably don't have much to spend in the first place for marketing. And because of that, they're going to be on top of you. They're going to want constant revisions, constant, communication with you. Whereas when you work with people with higher budgets, more of the professionals, people that have been running their business for a while, you're going to see they understand the business more. They understand that they're just going to leave you in charge mainly. And not saying they won't ever contact you or have notes or revisions, but you're going to find it's going to be a lot less with people that you charge more for and that have the higher budget compared to people with smaller budgets.
Mm, yeah, that's very true, and I found that to be true as well. Even just with my journey, like usually the higher someone pays, the quicker they respond as well. They are usually gonna send you the content on time. Like you won't have a lot of those, issues that you might have with lower tier clients. Now, the next
Hmm.
thing I wanted to ask is overall, what would you say, like, was the thing that helped you the most in the program? And what were your kind of like biggest learnings? Like if you just had to think from the top of your head that was the biggest game changer for you.
Yeah, so obviously the coaching calls, both individually and also the group calls, have helped a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of people are just selling video programs nowadays, and you have that as well in your program, and it's helped a lot. But when you actually have people that you can talk to, people that have experience, coaches, that sort of stuff, also just the community around you, it's helped out a lot. If I just have a question over something, I can shoot it in the Slack, or I can message you or another member about it. It's just really accessible, and I get reply rates pretty quickly. And I found
Mm-hmm.
that to be the biggest thing. And once again, the
Mm-hmm.
video program is amazing, but when you have the people you can talk to, it helps out a lot more.
For
Biggest
sure.
learnings, probably probably the structuring the offer and then also outreach because you guys also talk about inbound systems, which helped out quite a bit. One of the biggest things actually as well is building my personal brand, which you talked a lot about, and that also kind of goes into the inbound marketing because, like I said before, I was doing a lot of just cold outreach through email, and now I'm starting to build my personal brand more, and that sort of stuff, and that's also helping a lot on the inbound marketing part. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I'd say the biggest two things for me, learnings wise, has been dialing in on the offer, charging more, and kind of working more with a specific niche, and then also the outreach part, the inbound systems.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good point. I love the fact that you started taking your brand seriously as well, and that you are consistently uploading on YouTube. By the way, for everyone, feel free to click the link in the description, and you will be able to find Carson's channel. He mainly makes content around like AI content creation. So if you're, in this space, like it should be pretty interesting for you as well. But
Mm.
I think there's such a power in having your own channel, even if like, hey, even if you don't make it about the topic of like how to get clients from YouTube, so, and even if you don't get like clients directly from that channel necessarily, or not,
Mm.
it's not like fully optimized for that. Just the fact that you are kind of your own case study as well, I think it will, and you can start seeing results with your own channel as well. It will make you more confident about your service and like your skills to deliver it right and get results. It will
Hmm.
also just give you a lot more credibility because you actually practice what you preach. And if a client asks you like, hey, why aren't you on YouTube as well if you are selling this as a service, well, you can just show your own channel, and right. So there's that as well. And
Oh,
even
100%.
yeah, and I think even to the point of like it speaks about your, like it's like a resume for you, because if you can show that you have uploaded consistently for months on end every single week, then people will see that you can be trusted because you are capable of consistently doing the work, right? And how
Mm.
long ago have you started your own YouTube channel, Carson?
Yeah, I want to say it was uh, about 6 months ago, maybe. I think it was in August or September in the summertime. And
And where are
yeah, I
you
mean,
at now?
yeah, so I just passed 1,000 subscribers actually, which is very good. And
Yeah.
I mean, also beyond that, it's just the views I'm getting. I mean, a lot of them have, thousands of views, two, three, 4,000. I think a couple have around 7,000. And yeah, I'm so glad you got me on building that. And I recommend every single person watching this video starts one because, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can leverage it. The main reason you talked about a little bit just now, and that is just being able to show clients your channel and also becoming your own case study. Because I can tell you
Mhm.
how many times people either reached out to me or decided to respond to my email because I had that YouTube channel. They say, they have quite a bit of emails similar to mine every single day and every week. But when you have something that sets you apart like that, it helps out a lot. And I'm even mentioning it in my emails. Like I do have my own channel. I practice what I preach. And it's also just giving me some good insights into YouTube as well. And it's like if you're preaching to these people how good YouTube is, you should also have your own channel because if you're saying how good it is, then why don't you have one? So I recommend
Yeah.
everyone starts one. It's going to be hard work at first. It takes a lot more time than you might realize. But even if you just do, a video a week or so, you're going to find over time you're going to be so happy you started it because if I didn't start this thing, I would have been in a whole different spot right now and it would have held me back quite a bit, I think. Not saying you can't scale without a YouTube channel, but having one I think helps a lot. And also just having goals, like we were just talking about before this call, talking about buying a new car in the future. Hopefully this year, we'll see. But just having goals like that is really going to help push you, especially
Yeah.
nights when I just didn't want to work. I just kept on pushing because that's all you got to do. I mean, you're not going to develop if you don't go through all this stress and hard work. And don't think, 10K a month is going to be super simple. I see a lot of people online, these online gurus talking about how easy it is. It's not the hardest thing ever, but it definitely takes, when you first start out, you're going to be a different person by the end of the process. So just be prepared for that. And I mean, it's like working out. You're going to not like, you may like it along the way, but it's obviously going to be hard work, stress at first, but just keep on going and you're going to be a whole different person by the end of it.
Yeah, and I think also give yourself time. Like,
Mm.
I'm all for setting up big goals and everything, but what I've seen is that for most people, it takes at least 1 to 2 years to reach like 10K a month profit. So just
Mhm.
don't be too hard on yourself and like realize that this is a marathon at the end of the day, not a game, not like a sprint, right? Like
Mhm.
you want to be in it for the long term, and basically as long as you don't quit, as long as you are progressing, even if it's a slow progress, you're still winning because you cannot lose until you actually quit, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how does your day look like? Just to give the viewers a quick insight, like what are you spending your days on now? And well, I guess like how do you structure your days? Like what's your kind of main tasks slash priorities you do every day?
Yeah, so overall, like my, I guess, routine, I don't really have a morning routine. I just wake up and, start working, to be honest with you. I don't have some 10-step routine, which I found to be the best. I mean, when I start doing a bunch of stuff like scrolling my phone or doing something like that before work, I just find, first of all, it's a distraction. And second of all, when I just start working, I found to kind of get into that workflow, what do they call it? Like the flow mindset or something like that,
Hmm.
which is, I think flow state is what it's called.
Yeah.
And I found when you get into that, you work like 10 times better. So I usually do that in the morning, just start working, obviously take breaks throughout the day and all that stuff. But my day-to-day activities, right now it's just a lot of outreach. So I'm working on
Hmm.
doing that. And also, I found now I've transitioned more from doing the client work to actually hiring people and managing my team. And so now I'm starting to learn more of the process of hiring people, training people, managing a team, which is what I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to this next step instead of just being stuck in client work. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of
Hmm.
my day-to-day activities now are just hiring people. I'm not hiring people every day to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
it's just
But
talking with my team.
finding, yeah, finding
Exactly, kind of like
talent. Hmm.
prospecting. Exactly.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I spend a lot of that. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of it's not just outreach and managing my team. I still do a little bit of client work, but I'm working on transitioning away from that. It's just been kind of a process to do it, but yeah, a lot of it I'm doing what I like doing now, which is managing people and running a
Hmm.
team. So I'm really glad I'm getting to this point, and yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be a higher ROI activity than just doing client work. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Now, I wanted to ask, like, to someone who's watching this video right now, like, what would you recommend them again if they are trying to get closer to their goals, right? And eventually, I think get to a similar situation, where you are right now, or where you will be like 1 year from now, you'll be doing even better. Like a lot of people, they even just dream of having like some team members, like not having to
Mm-hmm.
do all the editing themselves, kind of like moving up the ladder. What would you
Mm-hmm.
say would be the advice you would give to your younger self, to get to this point where you're at right now quicker? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, and this may be different for other people, but the biggest thing, I was just so swamped in client work, I didn't have time for anything else. Like for a solid probably 4 or 5 months before joining the program, I mean, 95% of what I was doing was just client work. I didn't have time to do outreach or anything like that. And that may be fine if you're a freelancer and want to do the work yourself, but if you're really looking to scale beyond, especially 10, $15,000 a month, you're really going to find that having a team and being just consistent with outreach is going to help a lot. So that's definitely the biggest thing for me personally, is just getting stuck in client work. Start outsourcing as soon as you can. And I heard this rule, it was about 2 weeks ago. I heard this through a podcast, but it was like, if somebody can do 80% of what you do, just go with that, because you're never going to find a person that's a duplicate of you, a clone of you, that can do 100% of the work. If they can do 80% of what you're doing, that's going to be fine, because I found, especially hiring people at first, I was trying to find basically just carbon copies of me. And it's like, that's not going to happen. You're going to have different personal preferences and such. So just keep that in mind when starting to building a team, that you're not going to find people just like you. But if they can do 80% of the work that you're able to do and the quality of work, um, just go with that, to be honest. And I'm not saying settle for team members at all, um, but also don't have the expectation that somebody's going to be exactly like you. And I found people
Hmm.
also that are even better than me. If you can find that, 100% go with that as well. But going back to the original question, yeah, the biggest thing is just getting stuck in client work. Try to avoid that at first. I think when you first start out doing some client work, it's helpful just to kind of get an idea of it. But make sure pretty soon on you're figuring out how you can start outsourcing that.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for sharing that. Carson, for anyone who isn't in the program right now, like, how would you describe it? What was your experience like?
Yeah, so when I first started, I joined pretty early in the program, and back then you were still building it up, and so I will say you're constantly evolving the program, to be honest with you. Like at first it was mainly on the coaching side, and now you have the video program, and I know you're working on some new stuff now. So I'm definitely got a lot more value than I paid for, to be honest. And the biggest thing that's helped me is, like I said earlier on in the interview, is just those coaching calls and the group calls, just being able to have access to people like yourself and other people in the community. Um, Another thing is, like, opportunities wise, you can always network inside the community. You can ask people if they have, I posted an opportunity myself in the community. It's like, when you have people around you that do something similar to you, it's going to help a lot. I think that's the saying, if you don't do it fast, do it yourself. If you want to go far, go with a group of people.
Mm,
And
yeah.
your program is basically a symbol of that. Like, when you have people around you that you can bounce ideas off of and get advice from, it helps out a lot. So, yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is just the community, and the video programs as well, which you guys are constantly adding to, has helped out a lot as well. And also, I mean, like for example, Greg is doing something now where he's doing tips. I think he's calling it daily tips inside of the Slack channel. So I mean, just
Hmm.
things like that, you're getting a lot more value than you actually pay for. And yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed my experience so far.
All right, that's I'm happy to hear that. So, would you say like it helped you shortcut, getting to this point where you're at? Like, do you think it would have taken you longer, if you kept doing it like you were before?
Yeah, I mean, eventually I probably would have figured out myself, but it's definitely a shortcut. I mean, the
Yeah,
time I
and time
spent
is money, right?
exactly the time I spent trying to figure it out would have been worth, a lot less than actually just paying for it up front, being able to get that value. And I mean, just little things like when we first started out, you just told me to get testimonials at first, and I didn't
Yeah.
even think of that for some reason. It's just little things like that, and that right there probably saved me, a lot of time, a lot of outreaches from people not responding because I didn't have case studies. I mean, it's just little things here and there that's going to help a lot to expedite the process. And you're going to find, whatever you spend on the program is going to be worth, the value you get inside of it's going to be a lot more because if you just put some money up front, you're going to find a shortcut and you're going to really expedite your process. And that's going to save you a whole lot more money in the long run than you would to actually just spend on the program. So,
well, I really appreciate, like, I truly appreciate the kind words, Carson. And well, thank you for being part of the company as well and working with us. Like, it's been a pleasure seeing your growth, and I can't wait to see your growth even further. So, yeah, if any of you guys watching this want to potentially work with us, then go ahead and click the first link in the description below, and you are going to be able to schedule your call there. And you will also find Carson's channel there if you are interested in checking out some more of his stuff. So, yeah, Carson, thank you so much for coming on.
of course, thank you, Vince.